Welcome, Florida Man Sports.
Let's go.
Now, on this week's show here at FM Sports, we review everything that happened in the last week in the NBA, starting with your Orlando Magic, Cris. Any parting words for your team?
I have parting words, Johnny, but before we say parting words, folks, I want to talk a little bit about the game. We needed Banchero. We needed Wagner. I think I said this, that at both games, they needed to do 20-plus points each, right?
Okay.
That happened in game 6. That didn't happen in game 7.
Or game 5.
And so Wagner didn't have the game that we needed him to have in game 7. It's not all his fault, but for me, that was an outlier. The second thing about the game, Johnny, and I said this in the series, I said it in the beginning of the year, folks, you can't shoot as horrible from three-point percentage as Orlando and expect to win a series against the Cavs. Big ups to Donovan Mitchell. 22 for 36, game 6, 11 for 27 in field goals. I know you watched the games, Johnny. Did you see how many times he drove the ball for layups? And what did we do? Oh, well, shoot a 3, brick. Shoot a 3, layup, brick. It's like that's the way the game went for me.
Yeah, that works if you're a three-point shooting team.
Right.
Come on. Orlando Magic overachieved this year. Respect to them. They made it. They made it with 33% shooting from 32% shooting, 33 just in the behind the three was in the 30s, and their field goal percentage normally was also in the 30s. The Cavaliers didn't do that great. Cavaliers were shooting 32% from threes themselves, so it's evenly matched, but the Cavs learned I can't shoot the 3 to start driving the ball, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and not to cut you off, but the Cavs also didn't have Markelle Fultz, who as a point guard, 0 attempts from 3. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they blew an 18-point lead, and something to where when you're there, game 7, you have an 18-point lead. You have to capitalize on that. And then what did they do? They start jacking up threes. They're not a three-point shooting team. They're not a very good, shooting team in general. So what the Magic are great at are defense. So they have a stellar defense. They needed a lockdown, and they did at times early in the game. It was a tale of two halves. First half, dominant, really, and then they just, after that 18-point lead, just slowly just deteriorated and let the Cavs come back in. Mitchell was dominant. Mitchell did his thing what he needed to do.
Impressive. Yeah.
We needed Banchero. We needed Wagner to go ahead and really do what you said they needed to do, is both show up. But we haven't had that. We usually get one of these guys showing up. Banchero was great in the first half, but also cooled off. It's unfortunate. I mean, I was dogging the Magic. I love the Magic. I'm not crazy about our ownership and how they handle things, but we're going to have a tremendous amount of cap room next year, Cris. I'm looking forward to what we do next year.
Yeah.
But it's a disappointing way to lose in the season.
Florida Man Sports, Johnny, to your point, as we say bye to the Magic, I think you nailed it on the head. The future is so bright for Orlando, folks. We're the 4th youngest team on paper, and that's counting after Joe Ingles, who's 36 years old, right? So that's throws that off. But not only that, to your point, we've got 20 million cap space available that can go as high as 58 million. So that allows us, look, the future's bright. It allows us for one major superstar, maybe 2 talented players. The only problem, Johnny, is that this next year free agency is not as good as I want it to be. But again, the availability of money is there, and the talent is there for this Magic team.
The Voss family doesn't like to spend money, but please don't do something dumb like pick up like George. Pick up old talent as well past their prime is going to demand high dollars.
It's going to be tough.
Avoid that. Don't do what the Clippers did. Don't pick up these players that are older. Just see what you can get. See what's available. Now, something crazy happened.
They have to wait for next year.
And Magic really consider picking up the worst player in the draft, but with upside, in Bronny James. Bronny James will possibly lure LeBron into coming and playing for Orlando.
And Orlando has the money to do it. Novella Johnny strikes again. That's very good.
Hey, we have the room. We learned our lesson from Shaq, and we're like, spend the money. No, LeBron's going to demand $50+ million a year. It's worth it. You're going to make that money back easily. Pick up Bronny, have that set up there, and have possibly, unlikely, but it'll be interesting. Hey,
not going to happen.
He was on the West Coast of Disneyland. Come to Disney World, LeBron, and we'll see what's up. But that's another story. But, Cris, the Timberwolves and the Nuggets started their series there. Have you finally put some respect on the Minnesota Timberwolves after you picked them to lose in 5 against the Phoenix Suns? How embarrassing.
So me picking a team to lose in 5, all of a sudden that means I don't respect
they're so
them.
dominant.
That means I don't respect
dominant.
them. No, this is how you are. Your thought process.
You don't respect Minnesota.
No. What I do respect is I do respect the Denver Nuggets. I do respect the champions that are trying to run it back. So let's talk about this series. Number one, let's give the Minnesota Timberwolves their flowers. Anthony Edwards, 43 points, 27 points, averaging 32, 7, and 6 in the playoffs. 32, 7, and 6 for a 22-year-old kid, Johnny. I mean, that's just super incredible. And so Minnesota, I don't know that you're going to win this year. I don't know that you're going to win next year, but I'm going to tell you something. This is your treasure. This is your state treasure. And you keep this kid, you covet it, you build around this kid. Don't let this kid go, because this kid is the truth. And that being, go ahead.
No, I was saying, remember we talked about this. I said this during FIBA. Before the season's like, dude, Anthony Edwards is really showing he's arrived.
It's like his coming out party.
He arrived during FIBA, and I'm like, dude, this guy's gonna have a ridiculous year, and he did. And then I'm telling you, in the next year or two, he's gonna be the face of the league. I mean, this guy is no joke. Listen, we both picked the Nuggets to get to the finals and lose to Boston. But like I said, listen, Minnesota, Denver, OKC are all number 1 seeds.
Right.
If Minnesota somehow sweeps, I'm not saying they are, somehow sweeps the champions, they're the favorites.
See, that's where I'm going, Johnny. That's where I'm going. So now that I gave Minnesota their flowers, let's pump the brakes. The champions are still the champions. Don't get me wrong. To win 2 games away is amazing. Is amazing. I understand that, Johnny. I get that. But again, if anybody is gonna come back, it's the defending champions. That's what I'm saying. Yes. So I'm not just gonna go see with podcasts, with ESPN, NBA, all these sports reporters and whatnot. They just jump the bandwagon. They give a quick reaction about how great the Timberwolves are. I'm not doing that just yet. Give them the credit. This is still a series, right? Now, Denver has to do what champions do, and that's win on the road. And that's the story here. That's what I want to see what happens next. And if Denver can win one of these games, you still have somewhat of a series to go. It's not going to be a sweep. I'm not going to say sweep. But it was impressive, Johnny, that they won the game without Rudy Gobert.
That's exactly what I was saying. It's like, dude, game 1, they won pretty easily. Game 2 was a dominant performance.
No, it was.
And they did so without Rudy Gobert.
If the Cleveland Cavaliers can come back against the Golden State team in their prime in the finals.
Not the same thing.
It's not, which means anything is possible. You're right. Yeah, You're right. Anything is possible.
Anything's possible. The thing is that what didn't happen in Golden State, same thing happened here. The visiting team comes in and dominates in Denver, and Minnesota comes in and dominates game 1 and game 2 without one of their best players. Gobert is not there. The Frenchman's not there, and they win by like 30. They're just dominating.
No, and I get it. And I get it.
They're shooting 50%. You were saying from this team, Minnesota team is shooting 50%. Almost 40% from threes. So you're shooting 50% from the field, 40% from threes, and almost 2-to-1 steal ratio, 2-to-1 in blocks. They're killing the Nuggets in points in the paint. They are dominating them. So I'm sorry. You love to be like, no, this series is over. I know I've said this before, and then
Orlando takes it to 7 games.
Okay, yeah. Did they win? But
it wasn't over, Johnny. It wasn't over. That's the whole point. If the series is not over, it goes to 7 games.
What I'm saying here, when I'm saying series is over, is mean it's decided.
Okay.
So
all right.
The Magic put themselves in a hole they couldn't dig out of. In this particular
way to beat a team when they're down, John. Way to beat a team when
Philadelphia 76ers put themselves in a hole they couldn't get out of against the Knicks. And in this particular series, the Denver Nuggets have put themselves in a hole that they cannot get out of. Okay, you lose a game. You split at home. You're the defending champs, is fine. But for me at this point, I'm not saying they're going to get swept, but it's going to be the gentleman's sweep. This is going to be a 5-game series. Minnesota looks unstoppable, and they haven't even had. Gobert wasn't even in game 2.
Are people listening to the podcast are getting tired of you saying the gentleman's sweep? You said like 9 times.
Listen, patent pending. But like, let's move forward to 90s basketballs. Back. The New York Knicks against the Indiana
Are you saying that because they're only because no? Are you saying that because they're relevant? The Knicks were relevant in the '90s. Why are you saying '90s basketball?
Well, because in the '90s, almost every year, the Knicks and the Pacers they
I
faced
like
off.
that. I like that. I like that.
Almost every year.
You know a little basketball. I like
You
that.
know, anyway, so I think about 7 out of those 10 years they faced against each other. Now, this isn't, Reggie Miller, Larry Johnson,
No.
Grandmama, but still, this is a formidable force. Great game. Tell me about the game, Chris.
Well, yeah, I'm so excited for this series, but I want to take a step back real quick, Johnny, and let's talk about the Knicks for a moment, the Knickerbockers. Sometimes in the NBA, you get what's called the perfect storm. Okay. And that's the best way that I can describe this team. They get the perfect storm. First, they play Philly. And you were saying before, what you were right on, they got this hot streak to get into the playoffs. But the nice thing about hot streaks, folks, they end. And so the Knicks and the perfect storm capitalize. They win that series, right? You see where I'm going with that? Yeah. And now they're playing the Pacers. They win game 1, right? It's a huge deal to win game 1. I know you're at home, but it's an even bigger deal to win the way that you're winning. You've got 40 some. This is like the 4th game now for Brunson. 40-point performance back to back.
He's in Michael Jordan status.
Incredible. Whoa, God.
Yes,
we're doing a perfect show until the stupid things that come out of your mouth.
How is that? I'm talking about like the consecutive 40-point playoff games. That's Michael Jordan type status. Yeah, he matched
games, not status. Anyways, 40-point performance back to back by this guy, and then on the other side, Halliburton. He's got to have a great game for the Pacers. He's a 20-point per game guard. Who gave you what, like 4 points, 6 points?
Yeah, but he's been hurt. Been hurt.
But you can say whatever you want, but that goes back to my point, Johnny. This is the perfect storm. And beside the fact that the Knicks now, if they win this series, Johnny, they don't get to see Boston until the finals. That goes back again, being great for the New York Knicks. So Knicks, capitalize on this. Make this count. Win this series. And see what you can do with Boston because it's been working for you so far.
It's an evenly matched series. They're both shooting around 53%. The thing that the Indiana Pacers have, they have depth, and that the bench is outscoring the Knicks.
It's just one game.
So the Knicks are highly dependent on who on Brunson, and Brunson's showing up. Brunson's dropping those 40 points there. So
incredible.
If Brunson doesn't have a good game, the Knicks lose, and the Pacers know this, and they still can't stop it. It's been a great series. Now they got some help from the officials. If you watch that damn game, it's pretty clear that the NBA is like, no. We need this game to go the Knicks' way. That down the stretch, the getting that blocking, the moving pick call with like 20 seconds left. Nobody calls that like down the stretch here. Indiana had a chance to win the game. They went back and forth. The Knicks turned the ball over ridiculous. Like, just couldn't figure anything out. Like 3 times in the last minute. Kept turning the ball on dumb plays. Brunson was just doing some dumb moves. And for me, this is what happens, man. There's some suspect calls down the stretch. Still, this is an evenly matched series. I still see this series going 7 games.
This kind of goes back to my point that I said. I think this is like the perfect storm for the Knicks, even with Randall hurt. Like, this is the time to capitalize. If everybody's going your way, including the refs, right, those calls, capitalize. Let's go.
The Knicks are the only team that can potentially match up against the Boston Celtics.
No.
The Pacers are not beating the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's not happening. The Knicks have a chance. They have a shot with Porzingis being hurt. If Porzingis is in there, it's still Boston's Eastern Conference to lose. But I know I'm jumping the gun on here, but it's going to be a 7-game series. The Pacers can pull it out with their depth, but I still see the Knicks winning this in 7.
I agree with you that the Pacers aren't done. Just one bad game. I'm not going to overreact to that. But again, hopefully the Knicks do come out of it in 7 as well.
All right, Chris. OKC, they matched up against the Mavs. They start their series today. So it's going to be interesting. I seen some flashy moments here for the Mavs. OKC, man, you know how I feel. For me, with OKC, with Denver and Minnesota, those 3 teams are the class of the West. So those 3 teams can only be beat by those 3 teams, in my opinion, in the West there. But it still should be somewhat exciting. Do you see any different in this particular series?
It's going to be an exciting series, Johnny. Are you kidding me? I would much rather see the Mavericks and Thunder versus the Clippers, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And to go back, when you go back to the Thunder Pelicans, I said this, we all knew that the Thunder were going to win.
Yeah.
But what we also, I said was, Thunder's still a young team. They're not a proven team. This is where you prove it in this series. So yes, I get it that you're saying that the Timberwolves and the Nuggets is those big 3, but the Mavericks, don't sleep on the Mavericks.
I'm going to sleep on the Mavericks. The Mavericks have flashes. They ain't winning this series.
Don't sleep on them. Look, the NBA talking about calls. The NBA wants nothing more than to Luka to be successful.
This is true.
And that, okay, so don't take that for granted. So in this series, I'm excited about it. It's a real test for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I'm going to go a step further, man. This is going to be another one that's a 6-7 game series.
Who's winning this series? In your opinion, who's winning the series, Chris?
Mavs in 7. Oh, snap.
You just call them
Mavs in 7. Mavs in 7. Yes.
You
absolutely. Listen. The veteran leadership of Kyrie Irving.
No.
I'm going back to see. This is how you know that I stay true to myself, because I'm going to stick with the fact that I said OKC is not proven. I said this weeks ago, so I'm going to stand by that and say that the Mavericks prove that they're the better team, more experienced team, and they make it to the Western Conference Finals. Mavs in 7.
This is why Chris doesn't make any damn sense. So Chris picks the Clippers to beat the Mavs last round. And okay, the Mavs showed up and they put
they showed up.
They
Thank
put
you.
the old men to sleep. And now against a significantly better team, he's gonna go. It's like, oh, the Mavs are gonna pull this off. Like, listen, they don't have the defense to match up with OKC. Are you kidding me? Like, you have.
I love how you said they showed up and then you knocked because
they showed up against the old men in the Cavs. Kawhi Leonard didn't even show up, so it made it a little easier for them. And OKC, the number one seed, the youngest number one seed ever, and now suddenly they're gonna pull it off. Kyrie and Luka are gonna pull it off. You're right about one thing. They are going to receive some help from the officials, because my God,
we're never gonna get syndicated, and the NBA is never gonna accept us when you say comments like this.
Listen, I'm sorry, I apologize. Have FM Sports with Chris because Johnny talks too much. But I'm telling you, they're gonna get a game or two maybe off of that. But the OKC Thunder, the Denver Nuggets, and Minnesota Timberwolves are the class of the West. Those three teams are not going to lose to anyone, with the exception of those three teams. So obviously with the Minnesota and Denver, great series. OKC is going to beat whoever. I'm looking forward to a Minnesota OKC series, Western Conference Final. I'm thinking ahead. I'm well ahead of it.
Already thinking ahead of it.
Done. OKC is winning this series in 5.
For those of us that listen to this podcast, season 1, 2, we all know how premature Johnny gets. You guys know that reference, so go ahead. That's fine. Yeah. Thinking ahead.
Anyway, speaking of premature here, you want to go ahead and pick the Cavaliers to possibly upset the Boston Celtics.
Let me think about that. No. So this is why I was saying you were kind of jumping the gun earlier, because what I wanted to say as one last hurrah to the Orlando Magic is that no matter what, talking about matching up better, the Orlando Magic would have matched up better against Boston, period. I don't care if you agree or disagree with me with that. That's just a fact. And so if any team, it wasn't the Knicks, if any team has a chance of beating Boston, it's Orlando. But again, it doesn't matter because they didn't win.
You say the only team has a chance
that had a chance, that would have had a chance. But it doesn't matter.
All right, Jimmy Butler.
Okay, but it doesn't matter.
Go ahead.
So with that being said, of course not. Boston, look, not only does Boston have this in the bag, in my opinion, you have time to rest your injured players. And furthermore, a lot of times in the playoffs, Johnny, you get nervous, you get scared when a team gets too much rest. That happens sometimes where they get too much time off and then they end up losing their first game. That happens with teams that are raw. Boston is not. They have veteran leadership in that team. They've got Horford in there. So I don't see them losing game 1 at all. I don't see that happening. I see Boston taking control of this series from the beginning. This could be a 4-game, 5-game. Boston wins a series. That's really all I got for this one.
I think rest hurts other sports more so than basketball. In baseball, for sure. Too much rest. If you need those reps, that's what happened to the Atlanta Braves. They had too much rest, and so in baseball, 100%, you too much rest, and you will fail miserably in the playoffs. But in basketball, I think it's going to help the Boston, who has older players, like you said, with Horford, the old Dominican cat here holding things down.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to stumble.
They're going to be just fine, and they're going against Cleveland. It's ridiculous for you to say that Orlando is the only team in the East that could possibly beat Boston. They don't match up well with Boston, just as well as the Cleveland Cavaliers don't match up well. The Orlando Magic, God bless them, they better fix and figure out their shooting, because you can't win in the NBA. I mean, they overachieved. God bless them. The number 5 seed with horrible shooting, they still got their
top 4 defense,
and they should have beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they just didn't. But they need shooters. You need shooters in this
100%.
league. This is a 3-point shooting league, and you can't shoot. That's a problem. But Boston was going to wipe the floor with either Cleveland or Orlando. It just happened to be Cleveland. I would have preferred Orlando, so that actually made me go check out the game and be here and still continue to root for the Magic and hope for the best. But it didn't work out.
Orlando hates kids, remember?
They do. That's the reason they lost.
Terrible.
That's
terrible.
the reason. When it comes down to a series that's so evenly matched, that's what happens. You lose because
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I called it before.
Whatever.
Home teams win in that particular series. So for you to say the Orlando matches up better is ridiculous. It's not. That's your fanhood speaking.
Okay.
That's fine. But it's safe to say for me, Celtics are sweeping at worst.
And
the Jets sweep.
Patent pending, and that's what I was going back to Porzingis, right? Porzingis rest, right? That's the key.
Yeah, that's the key bonus. They don't have to
Rest.
play him. They don't have to play him. They can rest the whole series, get ready for the Eastern Conference Championship.
And in Boston, if you haven't saw the tape with Orlando, if you don't know the game plan here, stop Mitchell in the middle. Like stop so easy layups.
That's it. Stop that one guy. Stop that one guy.
That's it.
Stop that one guy.
Okay.
You would have been all right.
100%. Anyhow, Johnny, switching gears here, Florida Man Sports. We can't always, even though Miami's not here, Johnny, we still got to show Miami love because again, it is Florida Man Sport.
Okay.
And unfortunately, this is not going to be probably the kind of love that they want to hear, but this is what just happened, right?
Okay.
You've got Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy is a great baller, great player, but just recently got caught with some comments that got the attention of Pat Riley. What's going on with Jimmy Butler, Johnny, and what's going on with those comments?
Well, Jimmy Butler keeps running his mouth, but and you can't go on social media, and you should know better. You're not a 22-year-old kid. You're a veteran of this league, and you're going ahead and running your mouth saying that, oh, if you were playing, that you would have went ahead and beat Boston, and even worse, like, oh, you're playing for sure, definitely would take on the Knicks and beat the Knicks. I like confidence. I like people going ahead and talking, but backing it up. When you're not able to back it up, and you're just started talking like, oh, this would have happened. I would have. Your greatest ability is availability. And Jimmy, you weren't even there to help your team win. So Pat Riley, like he should have, pretty much told him to shut up, to be quiet. If you're not playing, keep your mouth shut. This goes beyond confidence and kind of building your team up. It's just dumb. And now even Pat Riley's talking about, like, listen, we're going to review if we're even going to extend you because you're not even available when we need you. And he said, so Jimmy Butler, do everybody a favor, do the Heat, Miami faithful a favor, and just keep your mouth shut. Get healthy and be available to play. But this brings a bigger question. Like, people were kind of whispering about it, and now it's just like, serious. Are the Heat going to re-sign and give any extension to Butler? Or are they like really thinking, you know what, why? Why? You're not available.
No, I think what he basically did is he gave them a negotiating tool, which is something that you don't expect from a 35-year-old man, is what he did. Furthermore, Johnny, he's on contract for next year. So it's the following year. So he's there no matter what, which again doesn't help him, though. That's my point. And then so you're talking about a 35-year-old who over the last 5 seasons has missed 100 games. Like, let that sink in for a second when you're talking about it's even more impressive that they went to the finals during that time, if you think about it. But 37 different starting lineups for Miami this last season. Of course, this has something to do with it, Johnny. Go ahead.
No, I'm fine with the player missing some games. Like, Jimmy Butler missed a lot of games.
100 games in 5 seasons? No.
Not the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, all right, you are older, your body's wearing down. Okay, fine. I get it. You weren't there. But that's the biggest problem. In the playoffs, when your team needs you, you weren't there. Like, last year you were, so that kind of worked out for you. So that's the reason why the team – so you get props because you're Jimmy Butler, Jimmy Buckets. Sure. And you did everything you needed to do in the playoffs last year, and you got your team to the finals. Okay, that was – now, 2 years ago. Last year, right in this season, you weren't there in the playoffs at all. You weren't there. It didn't help, and you were out in 5 games.
So to that point, I give Butler credit, if anything, for having a competitive edge, because I get it. You're still in the game. I don't recommend – I'm not condoning what he did or what he said, but I guess you can chalk that up to the fact that he's not done playing basketball. He wants to be here for the next handful of years at least, so he still wants to play. And then the last thing I want to say on this Florida Man Sports here, Johnny, Pat Riley – dude, I love this guy, man. I can't gush more about this guy. He talks to you directly. He says how it is, and then he still shows love to Butler because he said, "Look, we care about the guy. We want the guy here." But he can't say that. Shut your mouth. You can't be doing that.
Yeah, Pat Riley, talented, doesn't give a damn.
Yeah, I hope we can re-sign him, but not if he's going to do this. Like, it's just incredible. Like, we need more leadership like that. So kudos to Pat Riley for doing that, and we'll see if Miami, to your point, Johnny, they re-sign him.
It's going to be interesting. Yep. Orlando is going to have hopefully a great offseason, it's really important to see what the Heat do.
Good point.
Because listen, you guys are old. You know, Cris has been talking about it even in the preseason throughout about the youth movement. So
Paying dividends.
So like, hey, we'll get some youth
Let's
movement.
go.
Is that balloons?
I don't know.
But ultimately, it's going to be very interesting to see what our Florida teams do in the off season.
Yes.
But
No, 100%, Johnny. No, I couldn't say it better myself. Speaking of offseason, though, Johnny, switching gears here, talking about the rest of the NBA, because during the offseason it happens. They didn't even wait 48 hours. David Ham fired as the Lakers coach, Johnny. What are your thoughts, initial reaction on the firing, and what do the Lakers do from here with LeBron James?
Well, why is he fired, Cris? He's fired because of LeBron James. I mean, let's be perfectly clear. Ham was there for 2 seasons. 2 seasons, 90 and 74 record. Not bad. Won Western Conference Championship last year, this year.
Yes.
Made the playoffs here. They were obviously up against a juggernaut, the Nuggets, and they were out in the gentleman's sweep. 5 games.
So that'll happen. You tried to make it happen. You messed it up.
Well, congested too. Doesn't help there. But he's a good coach. But the reason he's gone is because of LeBron. LeBron, the problem with coaching a player like LeBron, it's a gift and a curse. You get to coach one of the greats of all time. Well, LeBron thinks he is the greatest basketball mind that's ever lived. So every single coach that LeBron has played with, he has asked, always in the DL, because he's always wants to keep his image, to go ahead and get rid of every single one. Even Eric Spoelstra. Eric Spoelstra is the only one that survived LeBron.
Stand the test of time.
But why did Eric Spoelstra survive? Because Pat Riley. Because LeBron goes to Pat Riley and says, I want this and that. And Pat Riley says, man, get the heck out of here. Like, this is my dude. He ain't going anywhere. And then what? LeBron goes somewhere else. But every single coach, which is about 10 coaches he's had, if I'm not mistaken, and they got dismissed because specifically LeBron. You tell me if LeBron goes and says, no, Ham's my dude, it wasn't his fault. It was not Ham's fault that the Lakers were out in 5 against the Nuggets. They just went up against the juggernaut in the first round. Same thing last year. They went up against them in the Western Conference Finals. They're not as good of a team as the Nuggets. It's not. LeBron this year played more games than he's played in 6 years. He played 71 games, I want to say there. AD played more games in his entire career this year. Their top 4 players, like I mentioned, played in 70 games plus. The Lakers were healthy as they've ever been, and they just couldn't compete. They're just not good enough. But it's not Ham's fault. Ham did everything he needed to do, but LeBron, he's never going to go ahead and tell the coach to their face. He's going to go ahead and be like, hey, he's great, he's great, he's great. When ownership has their secret meeting with them, he's like, get him out of here. Give me somebody else. Because, it's the coach's fault, LeBron. Take some accountability. You want to be the GOAT. You want to see him be like, you self-proclaim. You call yourself the GOAT, but offer no accountability whatsoever when your team is out in the first round. It's always somebody else's fault. And now you want to go ahead and sit here and go ahead and blame the coach. It is your fault Ham's gone. Nobody else's. You have your finger on the trigger and you pulled it.
I have points that kind of agree with what you're saying, but hold on, let me just back up a second. So you're telling me the Lakers have secret meetings on the side. Who's your source for these secret meetings? I love how the media, right? Now Johnny's officially the media, the soap opera Johnny over here. The secret meetings where LeBron James secretly meets with them, and because of that, they do this. It's
not secret. They always have at the end of every season. There's always exit interviews. Every team
read between the lines.
It's not read between the lines.
Okay.
If you're one of the best players. You tell me that Jordan retired early. Why? Because the ownership said, we're going to get rid of Phil Jackson. And Jordan said, no, you're not. If you get rid of him, I'm out.
Yeah, and they weren't going to bring the team back yet.
Yeah, and I'm out. And that's what they did. He was out. So they kept him around. And so those type of things matter when you're one of the best players in the league. The only thing is that with Jordan was very vocal about it. Like, this is my coach. I'm not playing for another coach. So that's what he did.
No, and so to your point, Johnny, I'm just messing with you. I actually do agree with you that the coach is rinse and repeat. And one thing that I will note too, Johnny, you got to think about this for a second. The Lakers, throughout history, have always been predominantly one of the best teams in the league. Championships galore, all that good stuff. They don't have this kind of turnover when it comes to the coaching. So when you get this kind of turnover, and we're talking about specifically here LeBron James, and then to your point, like there's an outlier. And so to your point, it is LeBron James. If he stays with the Lakers, Johnny, this is going to be the 4th coach for the LeBron James Laker era. And that's, I think, a big story there.
Yeah, every time he gets a coach, if it doesn't go the way he wants, because I'm telling you, LeBron listen, I'm on.
Targets.
The guy knows his stuff, especially his high
He's a
basketball
baller. Yeah,
IQ. But he is uncoachable. He's one of those guys, and I've not the same thing, but I've had kids that I coach, at baseball level who are really good, are really good ball players, but they're uncoachable because they think that they're better than they are. They think they don't need to learn anything else. And that's LeBron. He's the guy, I don't need to learn from you. You know who I am. I know this. I've studied the game. And somebody like that, man, hey, respect to him because he's still one of the greatest of all time, even with the attitude. But imagine if he was able to sit back and actually be coached. And how great he could have been. How many more championships? But no, he wants to do it on his own because he's a self-proclaimed GOAT. But offers no accountability for himself.
Shout out.
It's always somebody else.
Shout out to Mario and Thomas for putting up with you as a coach. But I will say this. It's crazy in the NBA, Johnny, when you disrupt the coaching market so much that a team like the Mavs have to go ahead and sign Jason Kidd. Tell me about, because Jason Kidd quickly the next day, he's re-signed.
Jason Kidd is a good coach. Who's regretting letting Jason Kidd go is the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks, who he started his career with, it started with Giannis and built that. But they want to obviously they still won a championship after the fact, but they moved on. Jason Kidd is an outstanding coach. He went
100%.
50 plus games, 52 games last year, 50 games this year. It led to the Mavs to the second round this year. The Mavs are going to continue to improve under the stewardship of Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd is one of the best players I've ever seen, especially point guards, and has moved into coaching flawlessly. He is an outstanding coach. He deserved that extension. The Lakers were fools because there was a time to where they knew Jason Kidd was going to be good. There was a time where Lou, the old Cavaliers coach, current Clippers coach, the Lakers wanted Lou, but they didn't respect him. They were like, no, we're not going to give you the max we should give you as a championship coach, and we're going to force you to take Jason Kidd as an assistant. And Lou said, forget this, and I'm out. And that's why he left, and then the Lakers ended up signing Vogel and everything else, and that didn't really work out very well. But Jason Kidd deserves the extension. I'm glad he got it. He's going to be with the Mavs for a long time. He was drafted by the Mavericks, and now it's come full circle, so good job, good looking out to the Mavericks to going ahead and give Jason Kidd an extension that he deserves.
Yeah, it's not easy, folks. And we know this because there's so many players, Johnny, that don't transition from the player to coach. In fact, sometimes it's really miserable. And so the fact that Jason Kidd has done it so well, I couldn't have said it better myself. There's teams that should have picked him up when they didn't, and he should have never left Milwaukee. Ultimately, I'm glad to see that he's re-signing and having success there. I think too, also though, it's the coaching that he does, Johnny, but it's also the fact that the players buy in. It's also the fact that he knows how to coach top tier talent. It's not easy to coach Luka. It's not easy to coach. Seriously, it's not easy to coach that team, and he's doing an excellent job.
So, who do you think? I know we've kind of moved past the Mavs. Good job. Congratulations, Jason Kidd. But who's the next coach for the Lakers?
That's a darn, because I know PG show, a darn good question.
I know. I'll be
go give me. Let me think. Let me digest it. Who do you got?
Well, sir, my sources.
Oh God,
have said that it's. If you think about who's available, who's even what's going on, what's available.
Yeah, right.
The next coach of the Los Angeles Lakers.
Drum roll.
Drum roll here. No. Okay. Anyway,
we'll know who plays it.
The next coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. This is Mark Jackson, the former coach of the Golden State Warriors, who started off, who was there. They drafted Steph Curry, everything else here. People are wondering why did he let me. Listen, he was a really good coach. He's basically, Steve Kerr came and took over and got all the credit. I see Mark Jackson a lot like Tony Dungy, like with the Bucks. Tony Dungy built the damn Bucks, and then Gruden comes in and gets the ring. Like this is Tony Dungy's team. And the same thing, Steve Kerr comes in with Mark Jackson's team. He coached, he developed with Thompson, with Curry, with Green, and he wins. He goes on a streak just because of, I guess there was some personal things that the ownership group didn't really agree with Mark Jackson. They got rid of him, and then the dynasty happened. But Mark Jackson's a good coach. People have been wondering why he hasn't been coaching since then. So it's a great opportunity. Mark Jackson will be the next coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. You heard it here first. Johnny from FM Sports.
You know what? That's not a bad choice, Johnny. And furthermore, you kind of bit off a little bit of what I said before, that it's so hard for NBA players to transition to coaching. And Mark Jackson was actually one of the first ones that when we saw him, I remember that I was like, man, they got a good one. And it was almost like night and day. He was gone. So there weren't really a detail why he was gone. Then he went into commentating, and he was made fun of. Like, he was just thrown out on the road and made fun of for losing, like almost like if it was his choice to leave the team. So
I like him as commentary. He's like, "Mama, there goes that man." So like, I like Mark Jackson. I think he's gonna be a good coach.
Yeah.
But really, if you think about it, who the heck is available? Who are they gonna bring back? Phil Jackson coming back? Like, who the Lakers don't have a lot of options. They want to get rid of him. Okay, it's a possibility they're talking about they were gonna make a run at Lou. The Clippers coach, who hasn't signed the extension yet, but the Clippers are going to offer. Why the heck would Honolulu leave the Clippers for the Lakers after the Lakers disrespected him and didn't give him the contract to begin with? They said, yeah, you want a championship, this and that, but we're going to go and offer you a less than market value contract and try to stick you with the players we want. We want Jason Kidd on your staff. You're going to take.
Well, I think the bigger question to that is, Johnny, too, is whoever they get, you have a 39-year-old LeBron James. So in other words, that window is this big if it's there at all. So who would want to coach? There's actually probably an even better question, right?
The Lakers.
I would demand as a coach, I want a 5-6 year contract guaranteed type of thing, not a 2-year deal. I want a 6-year deal because if you're gonna throw me to the wolves, I want to get paid. I think.
Well, remember these contracts are basically guaranteed anyway for coaches. Even if they get fired, their money they get.
Yeah, but not a short deal. I want a 5-6 year deal.
Yeah, they're gonna give them. It's not about that because most coaches get a 3 to 5 year deal initially, but it's going to be like, you better give me some serious money because that's what's gonna protect you. Don't give me $5 million a year. No, give me $15 million a year, because if you would fire me, now you're gonna really pay. And so that's as guarantees you're gonna get as a coach.
And so now that I've had some time to digest and think about it, because you proposed a really good question, after digging deep, folks, this is 40-Man Sports, and this is just the truth. Digging deep, it's without question, you heard it here first, that the Lakers are going to hire Mark Jackson. After giving so much consideration and deep thought to this process, it is clear to me that it's clear that Mark Jackson is the way to go. Because when I put it all together, it definitely, I mean, he deserves a second chance. And why not win one ring with LeBron to just put a bow? Jokes aside, to put a bow on his put a bow on. I think
I didn't see that coming. Mark Jackson.
No, but that's jokes aside though. Wouldn't that be great though to see like him coming back to the NBA, winning a ring with LeBron James after the exile in Golden State? That would be pretty cool. So that's what I'm saying.
It'll be good, but let's be clear: the Lakers don't win anything anymore. The Lakers, that window's
another conversation.
They've done, unless they pick up a player that somehow they do something like crazy, like Durant is coming to the Lakers,
Trae Young,
or Booker, or even Beal, or somebody.
Trae Young. They need points. They need a scorer to help LeBron.
What we've seen from this team with AD and LeBron and the company that he has in place right now, we saw everything they're going to do because they weren't injured really this year, and we saw that team got into the play-in and got swept. Well, the gentleman's sweep in the first round. That's it. That's how good they're going to do. They're not going to do better. So they're going to have to do something dramatic in the offseason to improve that team. And even still, the Lakers are not going to compete. If you're looking at Minnesota, you're looking at OKC, Denver, can the Lakers match up with those three teams? No, they can't. They're not even close. Yeah, because those three juggernauts
lost these 2 games now. Yeah,
the Lakers aren't doing anything unless there's a plane crash with all 3 teams in it.
As one, this is why this is why we won't get syndicated. And moving from a team and a player whose career is dwindling in LeBron James, he's at the tall end of it. Let's talk about, in Florida Man Sports here, let's talk about the Rookie of the Year, the fresh face of the franchise.
Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, the San Antonio Spurs unanimous pick rookie. Wemby wins it. Victor Wembanyama. Tell me, Johnny, what your thoughts on this year was for him, and it's clear that he's deserving of it. So what are your thoughts?
No, it's clear he's deserving of the Rookie of the Year.
Absolutely.
Unanimous is ridiculous. I mean, it just is. It just is. This guy, how are you going to see it? Okay. Outstanding. 21, 10, 3.9, 21, 10 rebounds, 3.9 assists. He shot 46% from the field.
3 blocks.
Outstanding. But how are you going to sit here? He played 70 games this year, so he played a lot of games. He did well. But my boy Chet, my pick before the season started, Chet Holmgren, 17, 8, and 2.4, shot 53% to field. More importantly, the number 1 seed. He helped his team to the number 1 seed in the West. when you're the bottom of the barrel where the San Antonio Spurs were, bottom of the barrel, yeah, you're the only option. You're getting all the opportunities there. So you had better numbers in Chet, but not by that much. And you led your team to essentially last place. And the kid, that's why I'm like, it shouldn't have been unanimous. Chet should have gotten some first place votes. So the fact that Wemby got the Rookie of the Year isn't, I'm not calling foul. I mean, Wemby, man, played some great games, had some 40-point games, and really was amazing to watch. But no disrespect to my boy Chet, man. Chet played his heart out, helped lead his team to the #1 seed, and no respect for that. But no, last place teams, you're always going to have some inflated stats in their players because who cares about defense? Who cares about wins? Chet got his numbers and got the wins. So, no, Chet should have got some first place votes, but he finished second in that voting. Chris's pick before was Scoot Henderson. How's Scoot Henderson do, Cris?
There's so much to digest here. Florida Man Sports. What a dude. That's clown commentary. Okay, let me tell you something. Wemby, before I just destroy you here, Wemby is the sixth player in NBA history to give you 20, 10, 3, and 3. Okay, sixth player, and how old this league is. You're talking about O'Neal, Ewing, Olajuwon, Abdul-Jabbar, and Robinson. He joins that level of royalty as his rookie year in that stat.
He is on the garbage.
So it's something that JV Johnny wants to give participation trophies to Chet and wonder how Scoot's doing. Yeah, on the fact that this kid is one of 6 to make that history happen. And then you want to take it away. You want to rip it from him by saying, oh, it's on a bad team. Yeah, he's the #1 pick because he's on a bad team. You can't knock somebody for doing their job. He did his job. So anyways, there's that argument dead in the water. There's that dead argument in the water, okay, when it comes to comparing Chet and Wemby. Furthermore,
I did a good job comparing it.
Furthermore, no, right? Okay, yes. Furthermore, not according to followers. Furthermore, here's what I'll tell you. Okay. This kid, my biggest concern and why I didn't pick him was the body. He's so lanky, so tall, and I was concerned, like Chet, what happened last year with the injuries. So kudos to him, 70+ games played. He proved to me and to all the naysayers out there that he can play this game. He has the body for it, and he's only going to get stronger. So that was my biggest concern for him as to why I didn't pick him, and I'm just excited for him. He's got such a bright future in front of him, and his game is only going to get better. Shooting for 3 and all, that's scary.
Wemby is outstanding.
Scary.
But Chet played all 82 games. Chet did not miss a single game, shot a better field goal percentage, and was off by 4 points? 4 points a game? 4 points less. And a #1
points on everything.
Led his team. I know points aren't everything. Exactly. You're making my point. Wemby averaged 21.
One of 6 players.
17.
One of 6 players to have the stat, Johnny.
You're 8 feet tall.
Give me a break.
And you're putting on the worst.
And in his sophomore year as a rookie.
In the NBA, you're playing
sophomore year as a rookie.
Chet helped lead his team to the #1 seed. They're going to play in the Western Conference Finals, possibly be in the championship in his rookie year. But you're going to sit here and be like, "Oh yeah, Chet." That's my whole point. Is not that Wemby, not that Wemby won the Rookie of the Year. I'm not knocking. Okay, he won the Rookie of the Year, fine. But all unanimous is ridiculous.
Florida Man Sports, I'm going to ask Johnny the question that if you're still listening to this point on all streaming platforms, you're asking yourself, Johnny, who does the Spurs have that gives the stats of SGA? Who produces like that on that team?
On the San Antonio?
Yeah. No, exactly. So what are you talking about? Chet has SGA. Please watch what you say. It makes no sense. It's irresponsible to have that kind of look, Chet Holmgren is the #1 team in the West, and he's not getting any votes. He has SGA. He has a better team on paper and that are actually playing the game. Okay, so what are you talking about?
Before this year, nobody knew who SGA was. Okay,
that's not true. Florida Man Sports, I deny that.
SGA just blew up.
Producers are trying to listen to us. I deny what he said.
The point is that, like I said, that Chet helped lead. Chet is the #2 player on that team, the OKC team.
Arguably number 3.
But he's not. He's #2.
Arguably number 2.
And my point was, you're saying whatever you want, that San Antonio has no one besides Wemby. So everything runs through Wemby, and he's still barely
answered the call.
Chet.
And he answered the call.
Finished in the bottom of the barrel of the league. So did he help his team win? No. Did he make other players around him better? No. He just went ahead, give me the ball, let me go ahead and dunk without jumping. And that was what Wemby did all year. Yes, he had a jump shot. He looks good. My point is not that he won the Rookie of the Year, but the fact that it's unanimous is a joke. In fact, that's why we have a bunch of fanboys that make these bows like, Wemby. I'm like, how you not giving any props to Chet? Chet, #1 seed. Those things matter. The teams matter. These things should matter in your voting. So it shouldn't have been unanimous. Wemby wants to win the Rookie of the Year, fine. He's not going to win a championship anytime soon, not before OKC does. So whatever, go ahead. Congratulations, Wemby. You take your
OKC does.
You take your baguettes and enjoy it, but you ain't winning a chip anytime soon.
Once again, my counterpart here, just when I think that he actually makes some sense so that we can actually figure this out and have a unified choice decision, it clearly never ends. That never happens with you, unfortunately. Yeah. So listen, folks, as the NBA season continues to wrap up in the playoffs, we've got this second round. Then we have the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. It's only going to get better here at Florida Man Sports.
Yep.
Also, we've got baseball right around the corner that's heating up as the games continue to go. And then the NFL, guys, just another month closer to preseason in the NFL. Any parting shots, Johnny, before we end this episode?
No, it's been a pleasure just owning you on everything that we discussed here.
Right.
I apologize to our listeners to have to listen to Cris.
Is that what it is?
But you're welcome to have to listen to me.
Listen, let's let the public decide, folks. We're streaming on all platforms. You know the Gmail address already and on all the links. Please give us feedback on X, Twitter. We're here for you. I'm Christian. That's Johnny.
Hello.
We're out, y'all.
Later.